We're starting today with Raw, as Ricochet was demolished in an attack by Braun Breaker that resulted in him being sent away in an ambulance, with his fiancée Samantha Irvin joining him. Now WWE is given an update on the inaugural WWE Speed Champion, as on Twitter they reported, Ricochet has suffered multiple upper body injuries and will be out of action for an undisclosed amount of time. Given that Ricochet has reportedly informed WWE that he plans on leaving when his contract expires, many think this is the last we've seen of him, but his exit is not a done deal just yet. PW Insider reports that Ricochet still has time left on his contract, and that WWE could capitalize on the buzz surrounding him after it was said that he would be leaving. There is speculation that Ricochet could make one final appearance for WWE, and sources indicate that there was a creative pitch for Ricochet to return for one more appearance. Whether this happens or not remains uncertain, but what we do know is that his WWE deal is expected to expire around July, leaving a window open for a potential return. Until Ricochet says publicly that he has requested his release, we can't assume he's gone for good, as last-minute deals have been reached in the past. Ricochet will ultimately make the decision he feels is best for him, but this week's attack may not be the last time we see him in a WWE ring after all. Now, WWE operates a multifaceted operation with various components working in tandem, and the post-show press conferences play quite the part in this operation. Since 2022, these press conferences have given an added sense of realism to WWE events and have showcased some memorable moments, such as what we saw after Survivor Series 2023. With that said, scrutiny has arisen regarding Triple H's handling of questions during these sessions, and this week, it was reported that WWE was changing the format of these events. WrestleVotes reported, "Interesting tidbit. Source states WWE is altering its plans for a press conference after this Saturday's Clash at the Castle PLE. It will now just be a post-show with the possibility of media questions still undetermined." When Ringside News reached out to WWE sources regarding this report, they were told it's inaccurate and fans can expect to continue seeing press conferences in the future. Fans are anticipating the upcoming press conference following the Clash at the Castle, and we'll have to see what Triple H says to the questions that will be thrown his way in Glasgow. At Forbidden Door, a new AEW TNT champion will be crowned, as Adam Copeland has been stripped of the gold due to injury, and a new challenger has entered the mix. In a TNT title ladder match qualifier, Jack Perry of the Elite faced Dustin Rhodes, and in the closing moments of the match, the bloodied Rhodes was overpowering Perry. Perry was able to withstand this and landed a DDT on Dustin outside of the ring, and a knee strike in the ring secured Perry's spot in the title match at Forbidden Door. Perry joins Konosuke Takeshita and Mark Briscoe in the match, and with 3 spots left to be filled, and who do you think should leave Forbidden Door as the next AEW TNT champion? In contrast to the previous era, these days it appears that WWE can't help but work with other companies, with their deal with TNA proving very popular with fans. Next month, Io Sky will compete for Marigold Wrestling at their Summer Dreams event, and now WWE is set to team up with the Pro Wrestling Noah promotion. On Twitter, Noah shared that a major announcement will come regarding the two companies on June 16th, and a certain wrestler will also be delivering a message. We don't know whether this wrestler is a Noah talent or a WWE superstar, but the fact that WWE is going to work with another company shows how things have changed. Of course, collaboration between companies is nothing new outside WWE, as later this month, AEW and New Japan will team up for their 3rd annual Forbidden Door event. When asked by TV Insider on his thoughts about the WWE TNA deal, Tony Khan didn't mention WWE or TNA by name, but said that the spirit of cooperation in wrestling is the best it's ever been. Khan added that he personally is open to working with other companies, and promoted Forbidden Door 2024, which is set to feature CMLL and Stardom as well. With rumors of WWE talent at TNA against all odds, this exciting period of crossover isn't over yet, and we'll have to see what WWE and Noah have to say later this month. Over the past month, there's been plenty of buzz around WWE and TNA working together, with fans wondering who may step through the prohibited portal next. On this week's Raw, Pat McAfee made reference to the theme song of Joe Hendry, who got chants during NXT Battleground, so it's clear WWE fans want TNA's Scottish star. Now that looks even more like a possibility, as on Twitter, Natalya shared that Hendry recently had a training session in her revamped Hart dungeon, and she is proud of his hard work. The former digital media champion has become one of TNA's most popular stars, and will this result in an appearance for WWE? Only time will tell. Over to AEW Dynamite, as the feud between MJF and Ricochet continued to captivate this week, with tensions running high as both men have been part of brawls in recent weeks. During Dynamite, Ricochet celebrated a relatively easy victory over Dion Roosman, only to have his moment of triumph interrupted by MJF, which led to another brawl between the two. As the confrontation escalated, security intervened to separate the warring adversaries, but amidst the chaos, fans were stunned to spot WCW legend Glacier among the guards. A match between Ricochet and MJF has been officially announced for next week's AEW Dynamite, promising to deliver further fireworks in their heated rivalry. This week's Dynamite also saw the Bang Bang Gang challenge the House of Black for a match at AEW Collision, but their verbiage made this relatively mundane segment far more interesting. In their segment, the trio declared that AEW Collision is the house the Bang Bang Gang built, which many immediately saw as a nod to WWE's own AJ Styles. Styles often called SmackDown as the house that AJ Styles built, and while the Bang Bang Gang's claim can be disputed, their reference to AJ certainly caught the attention of fans. There was a time when fans believed AJ would join AEW, but Styles has made it clear he plans to retire in WWE, but that didn't stop a reference to the phenomenal one on Dynamite. Last week it was announced that the Owen Hart Cup is returning, and there will once again be a men's and women's tournament, with the winners receiving world title shots at Allin. With a main event spot inside Wembley Stadium on the line, it's no wonder that wrestlers want in, and on this week's Dynamite, Pac revealed that he will be part of the men's tournament. Pac said he's tired of waiting for opportunities, and we imagine there'd be nothing better for the Brit than to win the AEW World Championship in Wembley in his home country. To do so, he'll have to win the Owen Hart Cup first, and with Bryan Danielson already announced, this win won't be an easy one for the British wrestler. Earlier this year, Darby Allin suffered a foot injury, one that was exacerbated when he was hit by a bus in New York City, but he still made it to Double or Nothing 2024. In Anarchy in the Arena, Allin was part of Team AEW and set Jack Perry on fire, but was later hung upside down and struck with the Young Bucks' shoes that were covered in thumbtacks. Recently, an MRI revealed that Allin has not got a broken nose as first feared, but he is still dealing with pain in his nose and foot and will be out of action for the foreseeable future. On this week's AEW Dynamite, Excalibur shared that Allin has also suffered a major back injury in the aforementioned match that would put him out of action indefinitely. Allin will almost certainly miss Forbidden Door, and his fate for AEW All In looks unclear. And we are wishing the Daredevil wrestler a speedy recovery from this latest setback. Last year, Mace and Mansoor, aka the Maximum Male Models, were released from WWE, and since then, the handsome heavyweights have made their names in various indie promotions. Now the models are set to return to TV, as Fightful Select reports that the duo are booked for this weekend's AEW Collision show in Youngstown, Ohio. It's unclear if this will be a one-off or if the pair plan to speak to AEW management to discuss a deal, but the fact that AEW wants them on the show bodes well for the former WWE tag team. Mansoor was backstage at a taping of AEW Dynamite in New York recently, and the duo have also been said to have been in talks with TNA Wrestling about a deal. The models are certainly keeping their names in the discussion even after their WWE releases, and we'll have to see if their appearance on Collision is just the start of an AEW career. CM Punk news now, and while he's best known as a wrestler, Punk has appeared in several film and TV projects, including 2019's Girl on the Third Floor and in wrestling TV show Heels. Now, the Best in the World hopes to expand his acting roles even further, as Deadline reports that Punk has signed a deal with the Paradigm Talent Agency. Paradigm will represent Punk for various projects in movies, TV, and more, and the former world champion joins Damian Priest and Tiffany Stratton in joining the agency. With Punk's torn triceps looking all healed in recent workout videos, fans may see him back in the ring soon, and may see him in much more than wrestling thanks to his deal with Paradigm. Speaking of movies, the gimmick of timeless Toni Storm has proven to be a hit with fans, with the inclusion of Mariah May only adding to the mystique of the AEW Women's World Champion. Storm's angle as a golden era Hollywood starlet clinging onto fame has provided some hilarious antics on TV, and fittingly takes inspiration from some classic films. Speaking with TV Insider, Tony Khan said that All About Eve and Sunset Boulevard changed the course of AEW as they helped provide inspiration for Storm's unique character. 1946's All About Eve sees aging Broadway star Margot Channing take superfan Eve Harrington under her wing, but the relationship turns sour, just as many expect for Storm and Mariah May. 1950's Sunset Boulevard sees another star of the past, Norma Desmond, become more obsessed with making a return, leading to fatal consequences to those around her. Whether Storm's fate is destined to resemble Channing or Desmond, that remains to be seen, but fans of the Timeless One have these classic films to thank for her popular character. But what have you made of Timeless Toni Storm and the films that Tony Khan drew inspiration from when making the character? Let us know in the comments below. After Scott D'Amore's controversial firing from TNA, many have wondered what's next for him, with some suggesting that he should be offered a role with AEW or even Ring of Honor. In an interview with Samantha Shipman for Daily DDT, Deonna Purrazzo, a TNA alum who's now in AEW, discussed the possibility of Scott joining the fold. She said, "Yeah, if that's something he's interested in, absolutely. I think that him and I have cultivated such a great relationship through my time at Impact, now TNA, and I think that he treats women's division so special. He just had that perfect storm, magic sauce with us. He treated us with so much respect and so much dignity. I think if that's something he was interested in doing, it would be to our benefit for sure." As for D'Amore, he is allegedly being paid to stay at home till early next year, but has been making his own moves as he recently filed a trademark for Maple Leaf Wrestling. We'll have to see what Scott D'Amore will end up doing next, as a run in AEW might be great for him, but if so, it's a move fans shouldn't expect to see this year. D'Amore's firing from TNA seemingly opened the floodgates for Anthem, as several notable names have been cut from the company following Scott's exit. Robert R.D. Evans was among those let go by Anthem TNA last week, but it hasn't taken long for the former member of TNA's creative team to find work elsewhere. PW Insider has learned that just days after his TNA exit, Evans has signed a deal with AEW and was present at last week's tapings of Collision and was immersed in production duties. As Robert Evans embarks on this new chapter within the AEW fold, his wealth of experience and industry acumen is poised to be a valuable asset to Tony Khan's promotion moving forward. Back to Dynamite, as it was a battle of the Kyles in a six-man tag match, as Kyle Fletcher, Roderick Strong, and Konosuke Takeshita took on Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, and Orange Cassidy. Fletcher got the win for his team on Briscoe, but the fight continued as Willow Nightingale's music hit, but we saw Chris Statlander beating her up on the stage. This match included a few different feuds and addressed all of them, but the action sort of felt like we were going from spot to spot instead of seeing a cohesive fight. The new alliance of Samoa Joe and Hook was put to the test on Dynamite when they faced Tony Nese and Arya Daivari, with the fight beginning on the stage. In the ring, Hook and Joe got the win with Katsuyori Shibata choking out Mark Sterling for good measure, and while this wasn't a squash, it was close. Zeuxis had a big opportunity this week when she took on Mercedes Moné for the TBS title, and for those who don't know, she's the partner of Moné's Forbidden Door opponent, Stephanie Vacker. This did make the outcome a bit obvious before the match even got started, and it would have made more sense for a non-title match with Vacker being at ringside. That could have at least made it appear like Zeuxis could win thanks to cheating from Vacker, but with the TBS title on the line, there was no chance that would be happening. Zeuxis has a bit of a size advantage, but not enough to be dominant, and Moné picked up the win to retain her title in a predictable but solid performance. Interim AEW EVP Christopher Daniels was at Dynamite with a major announcement to share, which comes mere weeks after he revealed he'd been appointed an EVP by Tony Khan. The Fallen Angels shared that the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada will compete in elimination matches next week for their AEW World Tag and Continental Championships respectively. Daniels added that no seconds or stablemates will be allowed to accompany the champions for their matches, as he's well aware of the Elite's schemes by this point. The Bucks won the titles by beating FTR at Dynasty, thanks to interference by Jack Perry, while Okada won the Continental Gold from Eddie Kingston in March of this year. It's wise for Daniels to lay down the law that no one will be around to help either champion out in these upcoming matches, but we're sure the Elite will have something up their sleeve. Chris Jericho's TV time segment saw him invite Private Party, and the pair of Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn ended up embarrassing Jericho after he tried to teach them how to climb the ropes. Zay hit Jericho with a swanton, and Quinn hit a shooting star press, and the odds are that the Learning Tree won't be welcoming them back to a future episode of the show. Dynamite's main event saw Will Ospreay put his international title on the line against Rey Fenix, with Tony Schiavone vowing that they would stick with the match for as long as it took. With two of AEW's most skilled high flyers in the ring, there was no way this would be anything less than fun, and the pair could have coasted and still put on an absolute banger. Instead of coasting, the pace was quick and the strikes stiff, and as Schiavone alluded to, this went past the top of the hour into overtime, but only by a couple of minutes. Ospreay won with a hidden blade and had a confrontation with AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland after the match was over, continuing the build to their Forbidden Door showdown. This week's Dynamite addressed several feuds and stories, but it didn't feel like we saw a single storyline development that made it a must-see episode. With that said, Ospreay and Fenix stole the show, but that wasn't hard when 3 of the matches we saw were basically squashes. Strickland continues to be a great champion for AEW, but even his segments this week felt like they accomplished little, something that many fans fear is becoming a trend for him. We got some good action in a few places, but not as much as we've become used to seeing every week, and hopefully things pick up as we get closer to Forbidden Door. Last month, Jim Ross was hospitalized after experiencing shortness of breath, and now the AEW broadcaster has given an update on his condition. Ross shared on his podcast that he's doing much better, and that his next time on the road for AEW will be for Forbidden Door, which will take place at the end of this month. And we're ending with Logan Paul, who's had some notable names on his podcast, and as revealed this week, the US champ will be interviewing Donald Trump for an upcoming episode. While the episode isn't out yet, Paul shared a clip on Twitter in which he said he hopes to get Joe Biden on the show, as the WWE US champion is certainly landing huge names for his podcast.